right, Councilor Hamel, well, we are all set.
Great. Welcome, everyone, to the February 1st Appointments and Negotiations Committee meeting. I hope you're all watching safely from home and waiting for the storm. I'd like to call to order the meeting and start with taking attendance. Councilor Gleistein.
Here.
Councilor Johnson.
I'm here.
And I'm here as well. So we're all present and accounted for. I'd like to take a minute and review the minutes from the January 4th meeting. If you haven't had a chance to review them, if you'd like to take a minute now and cast your eye over those.
I've reviewed them. I'll make a motion.
Okay. Motion to approve from Councilor Johnson. Do I have a second? Betsy, do you have enough time to look at them?
Second, I did.
Okay. I will then take a vote. All those in favor? Councilor Johnson?
Yes.
Councilor Gleistein?
Yes.
And I'm in favor, so they have been approved unanimously. So we had just a couple of discussion items before we adjourn to go into, or before we move to executive session, not to return to committee. So we will adjourn. We will adjourn from the executive session. So we're going to spend time reviewing and staffing remaining vacancies, and then I thought we'd have a brief discussion. We've had some issues around communicating some of the staffing decisions, and maybe an opportunity for us to tighten up some of the communications and also some of the committee procedures. So I thought we'd have a very brief discussion about that. Touches on some of the things that Betsy's brought up in the past as well in terms of committee effectiveness and so forth. So if you allow, we'll go into the, right into staffing the vacancies, if that's agreeable to the committee. And Tody will follow your good work and your lead on recommendations.
Okay, thank you. As you can tell, we had a number of online applications. I tried to review and spread the appointments throughout these applicants that we had. And I just emailed you another one from Noah Peralt, I believe his name is. And he's looking at the Conservation Commission and the Parks and Conservation Board.
Okay.
Those were his two that he had checked off. I know Noah, he's a very nice young man, has been involved in a lot of community. He only lists a few on his application, but he's very nice, and he does a lot of good work. So the first one was, go ahead.
Go ahead. Thanks, Tody. I think we'll talk about him when his specific committees that he's requested interest, shown an interest in as well. Thank you.
So I had a quick question. Has anything else come in on paper or just on the online?
Just online. So
it seems pretty popular so far, I guess, right?
Yeah, we haven't had this many applicants in a while. New applicants. So there were 3 applications, I believe, that had multiple committees selected on them. I did contact each applicant. Mr. Charles Kanazak, I believe that's how his name. He did respond to me, and he said that he would his preference is the person. I believe I submitted that in the packet to the Personnel Appeals Board, the Board of Assessment Review, and then the Senior Advisory Board. I did hear back from Jean Ginn Marvin, and she's just happy to assist in any way. She didn't have any specific choice of what committee she was on. And Freyla, her top 2 were the Personnel Appeals Board and the Board of Assessment Review. But again, she too indicated that where we needed her most, that would be fine with her. So for the Board of Assessment Review are 2 applicants, and that's Charles Kanazak and Freyla Terpinian. And I had recommended that they both be appointed to the Board of Assessment Review, with Freyla's term to expire in 2023 and Charles Kanazak to fill a term to expire in 2021. And the reason I switched those is Freyla is an attorney, and Charles is, I believe, in the learning stages of becoming an attorney. So that's why I chose her for the longer term and him for the shorter term, if that makes sense.
So any discussion about these two candidates? One thing I would mention is that I saw that Freyla had also served on the Board of Assessment Review in Wyndham, for like
Yeah.
6 years or something. So she has specific direct experience. So any other comments about both of the candidates and the recommendation?
No, I think they're great recommendations. Thank you, Tony. I think they're great fits, both of them. So I make a motion, we move forward with the recommended recommendations.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? So with that, I'll take a vote. Councillor Johnson,
Yes.
Councillor Glystein,
Yes.
and I'm also in favor of that. That's a unanimous recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, for the Coastal Waters and Harbor Committee, we had one applicant who was Andrew Fortino, and I recommended him to the first alternate position to move Kevin Ferry up as a full voting member. We had appointed an individual, and then she moved out of the community at the time that we had already done our appointments. So that's why I was asking to have Kevin move to a full voting member and Andre as a first alternate.
So
Okay.
I'd like
This-
to move that we accept the recommendation. I know we can still discuss, but I'd like to put the motion on the table.
I second.
Okay, and then any further discussion? So we'll vote then in favor of the recommendation as put forward. Councillor Glystein,
Yes.
Councillor Johnson,
Yes.
and I'm also in favor, so that is a unanimous recommendation.
Okay, so the Community Services and Rec Advisory Board, there were two applications, and that was Jean Marvin and Freyla Tarpinian. And I recommended Jean Marvin as a second alternate with a term to expire in 2021. If this individual is appointed, this board would be filled.
Okay. Do we know anything? Have any details about Ms. Marvin? The name is familiar, but I don't know her.
All I know of her is what is on her application. I don't know anything more.
And those were the only two?
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, that late applicant that you had sent out, wasn't that Conservation Committee and Parks and Services, or?
It was the Parks and Conservation Land Board and the Conservation Commission. This one's for the Community Service and Rec
Gotcha.
Advisory. Yeah.
Similar wording. Similar.
Right.
I'm sure the charges are different. Okay, I'm sorry. Yep.
That's okay.
Then I make a motion that we move forward with the recommendation.
Okay, do I have a second?
So wait, I'm not clear. I'm just pulling it back up again.
Yep.
Oh, all right. So, so you're kind
Her
of
bio is on page 24.
just kind of spreading,
Jean Marvin.
spreading around since Freyla was going to do the board
Yes.
assessment. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I will second.
Okay. She's pretty extensive volunteer background. Ms. Gin Marvin, former Cape Town Councilor. I thought her name sounded familiar. So that'd be pretty good background, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
She also is the works at the Nonantum Resort as the innkeeper there.
Yeah.
Just as a side, yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? So we'll go ahead and take a vote then. Councillor Glystein,
yes.
Councillor Johnson,
Yes.
and I'm also in favor. So that is a unanimous recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, for the Conservation Commission, we now have two applications because I sent you Noah's application just a little while ago, and Randy Hogan, who is very interested. She was the one that contacted me and wanted to know what the process would be with this committee. So I had recommended Randy Hogan as a full voting member with a term to expire in 2023. And then in this case, they have another full voting member position that's open that you could possibly nominate Noah.
Okay.
Great.
Do we want to have discussion first, or do we want to take a minute to review Noah's application that's in the email?
I'd like to take a minute.
Shall we take a minute then to do that? Thanks. While you're looking, town hall's closed tomorrow, so because of the storm.
It's not snowing yet.
Is it, that's pretty unusual, right? I mean,
If I were to do it again,
yeah, looks good.
Okay,
so was that, I'm sorry, was that a motion?
she said looks good, so can I give me a formal motion then on that, Betsy?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for Randy Hogan to be a full voting member with a term to expire 2023. And someone's going to have to help me with the name here. Noah,
A lot, I believe.
with term to expire.
I'm looking. Sorry, I should have had it open.
No hurries, Cody.
Let's see.
So Randy Hogan is term to expire 2023, and Noah, do we have an expiration for his?
I'm looking right now, sorry.
Okay, thanks.
There's a 2022 and a 2023.
Thank you. I'd say 2023.
To expire 2022.
Okay,
Um,
do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, and any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Counselor Johnson,
yes.
Counselor Gleisteen,
Yes.
and I'm also in favor of that. That is a unanimous recommendation. Thank you.
So the next one is the Personnel Appeals Board, and we had 3 applications. We had Charles Kanizak, Freyla Terpinian, and Jean Marvin. And it was my recommendation to appoint Charles Kanizak to the second alternate position. And if he was appointed, then this committee would be, or this board would be filled.
Okay. Any discussion?
Want a motion first?
Yes.
I move that we move forward with a recommendation to appoint Charles, I'm not going to butcher his last name, the second alternative for a term to expire in 2023.
A second?
Second?
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing or hearing none, we'll go ahead and take the vote. Counselor Gleisteen,
Yes.
Counselor Johnson,
Yes.
and I'm in favor as well. Unanimous recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, so for the Senior Advisory Board, there were 2 applicants, and Elisa Bolda and Charles Kanizak. I was recommending Elisa Bolda as a second alternate with a term to expire in 2021.
Okay. Do we want to take a minute? We've talked several times about Mr. Kanizak. Shall we take a minute and review the other candidates' materials here? Eliza Bolda.
Right.
Do we know the, I think that committee is almost all, do we know how many gentlemen are on that committee? I guess I'll say it that way.
Let me just double check. I have my computer here. We have Two, I believe.
Yeah, 2.
And the only reason I didn't recommend Mr. Kanazak was because he was already on 2 other
Right.
committees. I
Okay,
just wanted to spread the wealth, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, plus it sounds like we have it, we at least have a gentleman representation on there.
Mhm.
So I'd like to move to accept the recommendation.
okay. Do I have a second? Thank you.
Yeah, I second.
All right, any further discussion? And as I believe her name is Elise Bold.
Lisa Bolda.
Elise, Elise. So with that, we'll go ahead and take the vote. Can I have someone restate the motion first?
I'll
Point-
restate. Oh,
Go ahead.
appoint Elise Boulder as a second alternative to fill a term to expire in 2021
Okay,
on the Senior Advisory Board. Sorry.
thank you. So now with the vote, Councilor Gleisteen,
Yes.
Councilor Johnson,
Yes.
and I'm in favor of that as well. Another unanimous recommendation. Thank you.
Could I just mention that the Parks and Conservation Land Board also has a vacancy? That board does not meet all that often, and I did not know whether or not you wanted to consider Mr. Brolt for that committee as well, while we were right here.
Right. 'Cause he expressed that in his application, correct?
Right, yes.
And who's the candidate again? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Noah, the one that I
Okay.
emailed you? Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to go ahead and do that?
Yeah. If we have an opening and he's expressed a desire, I think it's a great opportunity to fill that position, right?
And that would be a term, he'd be filling a term that would expire in this year, 2021.
Okay. Do we know that he would be willing to take on 2 committee assignments?
I believe he would, because this one doesn't meet, I was looking back, I don't think they've met in over a year. They only
Okay.
meet on as needed basis.
Okay. So any discussion? Any further discussion? If not, I'm willing to accept a motion.
Motion to accept the recommendation of Noah Perklet for Parks and Recreation, alternate term to expire in 2021.
Thank you. A second, please.
I second.
Okay. We'll take the vote. Councilor Gleisteen,
Yes.
Councilor Johnson,
Yes.
and I'm in favor as well. Another unanimous recommendation. Thank you.
That was all I had for that.
So the only one I would add to this, Tony, to make sure we get it on the list is that I
Rachel?
got the recommendation from the planning board for the representative to the long range planning committee, and I wasn't really clear about the notice for that. So if we could add that to this round, we voted in favor. I don't know if we vote in favor. I'm pretty sure we voted in favor of it or not.
Rachel?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did.
So this is my fault. I dropped the ball on this one. It was out of sequence and we didn't have it go through properly. So can we add it to this list though? And then we'll make sure that it gets properly read into the record on Wednesday night, and then we'll confirm it with the vote the following town council meeting.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you. And this is for Rachel Hendrickson to the role of planning board liaison to the long range planning committee. It is a non-voting member role. Thank you. So with that, that's kind of all I had for staffing. Thanks very much. I think we've got a nice, process that's grooved and moving well. And so, Tony, thank you for organizing that, and thanks everyone for moving through these. I'm very pleased to hear. It sounds like we're getting really a nice response to the suggestion for utilizing the online application. So that's really good to hear.
Imagine that. Being able to do it online. Instead of printing it off, filling it out, throwing it in the mail. Imagine that.
Technology, wonderful thing.
Allison has done a really good job promoting it
Yes.
too on Facebook and on our e-newsletter. She's
Yeah.
really been an asset.
Oh,
It's really tremendous to see the change. You know, that's a good example of a person really making things happen.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
we-
I would just, for those who are on social media, she has put together a video that sort of cycles through all the vacancies, which is
Great.
aesthetically looks really quite good. And then if you peruse your newsletter that came out today, she's actually going to be doing board spotlights,
Great.
where she highlights each board that has a vacancy, generally what they do, as well as highlight the staff contact for any questions. So this,
Great.
the addition today was board spotlight, board of assessment review with our assessor. So we're really trying to step up our proactive recruitment.
Great. And that was actually an idea, and a suggestion from, from Betsy a meeting or two ago. So it's really nice to see her just, pick up the ball and run with it. So, use the sports analogy, but, it's really awesome. Thank you.
The website, if you click the new big meeting and agenda button, the first thing that comes up is the committees and what's.
Great. Great. So let's move to a brief discussion about, what can we do, what should we do in terms of a committee to, to help communications and, perhaps even onboarding, of the staffing assignments. I have to admit, in past years, I've participated in making the calls and thanking people, and also having conversations with various committee chairs. I haven't really done that lately. Tody's been doing most of it. So can we talk for a minute about that? What do you think the opportunity is and what we might do? Betsy, go ahead.
That's a great question, Don. I don't know that I'm full of ideas right this minute, but I think just even, there could be some level of confusion about, committees, unless they specifically ask Tody, like the committees that don't meet very much, like that personnel board. When's the last time that met?
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long time. And then you said Parks and Recreation, so just so people kind of, that we make that clear so that it's like, okay, when we need you, we're going to need you. But, just because you don't hear anything doesn't mean that we've dropped the ball. You know what I'm saying? So like if I signed up for Parks and whatever it is, and I never got a call, I'd think, well, okay, well, town really doesn't have their act together. They appointed me, but, so I think basically it would be good to get some information out to them that, hey, this is as needed,
When I send an email to them after the council, I'll send the initial emails indicating that this committee is making their recommendation to post their name, and I tell them the process. And then after they're appointed, I also CC the staff liaison, as well as I believe I CC'd on two committees, I CC'd Dawn, I believe, and let them know when the meeting is, and the chair of that committee will be in contact with them. So they've got the staff liaison, the chair of that committee also being contacted as well. And then I ask them if they have any questions, by all means, contact me. And the Personnel Appeals Board, I do indicate that they haven't met in a while, and that the other committees as well. So I try to include what I can in an email.
Now I think it'd probably be fairly easy to include that one link that I just mentioned, the agenda and meetings, because then that link could say, look, if you want to catch up on, if you want to see what's been done in past meetings, here's, it's all right in that one spot now.
Ken, thanks. That's a great suggestion. Let's build on that. Ken, what do you think about that and other ideas you might have?
Sorry, what was the question? A better way to communicate to the committee,
Well, there were some suggestions to, Tony described what she does in terms of a follow-up email, and I'm wondering if is there a way for us to do a letter just saying thank you once they've been confirmed by the council? Thanks for this is to confirm that you've been appointed by the town council, nice letter thanking them for what to do, and then here's what you need to, do as next steps. And we copy the chair, and the liaison if there is one, and, suggest next steps. And then I'd be happy to do a follow-up call after that. We get copied on it or something. So I don't want to create work for people. I'd be happy to help draft a letter, but it seems like,
Well, I
I think
originally,
the simpler the better, right?
Yeah.
An introduction letter with some pretty basic guidance items.
so I went from a letter to an email.
yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you want, I can go back to letters. That's not a problem.
Yeah, again, I don't want to create work here, but I do want to make sure we have at least some clear roles in terms of who can do what from the committee to help with this. So,
And
yeah,
I'm assuming the roles,
sorry, go ahead.
the roles would be the same. I mean, the bullet points would be the same regardless of the committee, correct? I mean, it should be, you're talking the basic things.
So would it be as simple as like a form letter, for lack of a better term, since Tootie's already basically giving all that information, could there be a form letter PDF on, town letterhead that, was signed by, maybe all the council members and said, thank you very much for serving, and, reach out to any of us if you have questions or concerns about the committee process.
Yeah.
As a part
Your
of
assignment is this, your term is that, your meeting date, your,
like you said, she already includes all that. So
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe just a thank you letter
Yeah.
sent to the counselors as a PDF.
Yeah.
Would be a form letter, but
yeah,
at least it would kind of be, it would remind, or maybe with all our phone numbers on it,
Yeah.
to say, look, we'd love to hear your feedback about how your committee works. And here's our email, here's our phone number, feel free to reach out to any counselor. Just a form letter, thank you letter, just making a direct connection that Toti could just attach with all the stuff she's already sending. It's a thought.
I'd be happy to draft that, Tody, and have the committee look at it. But I don't want, if you think it would add value and it's not going to be just, one more thing, one more task. But do we have people's signatures on file, the town
No.
council? No?
No.
But I mean, it'd be easy enough for us, provided it's not a snow day, for people to come in and sign, right? And
True.
do kind of like we do the warrants, so at least you get a,
Right.
something that looks official. I don't know. For what it's worth.
Or you could have the chair of the council sign on behalf of the town council as a
Yeah,
whole.
we get Paul to sign. He's got a respectable looking signature,
Yeah, or I think if you just list all our names and contact email and
Yeah,
or even if we don't sign it.
Yeah.
It's perfunctory, I guess, but it does at least say thank you. And then it kind of says, hey, your counselors want to hear from you, feedback of how your committee works. And,
okay.
Doesn't work,
Right. So I'm happy to write a letter. We could take a look at it, see if you like it or not, if it's add value or if it's just going to be, more clutter in an email or, in a PDF file, but I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
And,
I'll try to keep it to like 2 paragraphs, Don, and we should be okay.
yeah.
Short and to the point.
With me, more is less here. I get lots of help with trying to, be brief, and it's not, the feedback's just not working. So, so any other discussion there? I mean, I think that some of the communications efforts are driving the education of committee roles and things. The ad hoc committees. I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to tune in on those. I know several of you are involved in those already, but I've watched both the downtown committee, and I know Ken has, as well as the comprehensive plan committee, and they're off and running even with a meeting or two. So I'm impressed with the activity. People seem very committed, very interested. So
John, in the agenda, you
Yeah.
mentioned the Roberts rules.
yes.
Something you wanted to pursue as part of this discussion, or?
So I did, some of the committees operate very informally. and that's not an that's not an overstatement. They do. Some of them don't really take votes, So my feeling is that maybe there's some opportunity for us to follow up with the chairs and the liaisons of the committees, just say as a reminder, can you please be following these practices? Particularly as we get to stuff that's going to be coming out of committee that really needs to have a formal motion and vote that's going to come forward for review and approval by the council. So that's the only thought I had. I mean, I attend long range planning. They're pretty informal. A lot's done by consensus. Shellfish and coastal also even more so, really quite informal. So if there's a nice way for us to try to kind of reinforce that systematically, maybe it's only for the handful of town council appointed. I think for the town council appointed committees, like ours, and rules and policies and so forth, finance. I mean, that's not really an issue. Tony, I'd be interested to hear what others think here. So.
But at least, like you said, I think if something is going to come out of that committee as a recommendation, it should follow some formal process. Mm-hmm. Doesn't necessarily mean every discussion within the committee has to follow Robert's rules, yeah. Right? That's what you get.
Yeah.
We do have that committee manual, the boards and committee manual that kind of gives a guideline of what is expected. Those can be emailed out again as a reminder to the chairs that, this is what you really need to look at and follow. Right. And I believe it lists all the committees as well. And in the back of that, there's an appendix that shows, it has a format for minute taking.
Okay.
So we can also send that out as well.
That's a good idea, Tony.
It's the beginning of the year.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
And John,
I agree. Yeah.
And John, rules and policies is kind of slowly looking through some of that. So,
yeah,
if we see something that, maybe should be cleaned up or whatever, then we can discuss rules and policies and bring it forward to the council.
Okay. So is that something you would want to do in rules and policy and come forward to council with it for use with committees, or you want us to take a stab at it? I
think so. We just took that vote where rules and policies, was doing 302A, which is basically that manual. I think that Tony just mentioned that's what 302A is. Mm-hmm. So we're just kind of slowly looking through different pieces of it. So, we're not looking to go off and change a whole bunch of stuff, but if something jumps out, the piece we're going to talk about next week is, and I'm not saying it's going to go anywhere right now, but is recordings. It's kind of, we have the policy in place that says it's up to the chairs, but we have new technology now. We have, so we're just going to discuss that.
Okay.
Wherever we find, an inconsistency or something like that, we might bring something forward for a change.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But it's so, Ken, do you have any thoughts on that, Tony, about, do we want to wait for something to come out of rules and policies, or do we, take a crack at something?
Yeah, don't wait.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, right now, I think where it's the beginning of the year, some of the committees may have new chairs, new vice chairs, and recording clerks. So we might want to just go ahead and send that information out.
There's nothing pressing that we're looking at, so don't.
Okay. So here again, I think it's a memo that possibly I'll draft. Maybe we put the seal on there. We get the counselors to sign. We have, names and numbers, and we have Paul sign it, and he sends it out on behalf of the council and respective counselors and committees, just as a reminder, particularly now that we have so much committee activity, a couple of pointers, and here's the rule book, and, go forth and prosper, something like that.
And then what? Do a follow-up through rules and policy, correct? Yeah, because, I'm on the cable television committee as a liaison.
Yep.
I can't tell when the last time they met. There's no agenda, there's no nothing.
That committee hasn't met in probably, when Councilor Babine was on, I think that was the last time, and that's been 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, so before that, there was no activity with that committee either.
We're gonna change that.
That was one of the ones recommended to, to formally call extinct. So I don't know what we need to do officially to do that, but sounds like it's time.
That would be, I believe, if they want to repeal that, they would have to, the council would have to take a vote on that.
Is a charter change?
No, it's just that it is a formal committee. So
Okay.
in order to inactivate it, I believe the council would have to take an action to that committee would no longer exist.
Does it have a chair? Do you know who the chair is?
Yeah.
Is it Art Dillon?
Yeah.
Everybody else expires 2020.
Yeah. I talked to Art about it. He said, I think the only guy who said he didn't want to
Yeah.
fold up the tent.
I would think we'd want to explore opportunities before we had a discussion about disbanding it, though. You know?
Yeah.
If I can get some time to give that some thought, and maybe meet with Todd, because he's also a liaison.
Yeah.
When I first started, the committee was really one that they would have like a Friday forum. They would have different shows pretty much, or do a profile an event that was coming up in town, or do a historic piece. And then a lot of those individuals, as we get older, you know, we move on to different things, retire and move away or what have you. And there was really no interest for other members to take on that role. So I think that's one of the reasons it kind of just played out.
No more content, I guess, right? People weren't developing. Yeah.
And I think, you know, just as a side note, it's something, you know, rules and policies could consider to say, you know, all these committees need to meet at least twice a year, because if you're on it and you had an idea and your committee never meets, you know, if you thought, yeah, I think I'll do Scarborough Historical Society, it would be awesome to have something like that. Mm-hmm. So that might be something we take up, you know, and say, look, you know, these standing committees, you know, they need to get together at least twice a year to, you know, to look each other in the face or something.
So maybe we approach it from that standpoint for the ones that haven't met, and I would, you know, not include the Personnel Appeals Board or the, you know, any statutory ones, but the ones that haven't met in a year or two, we should maybe go down the path of, you know, trying to develop a recommendation and timing for consolidation. So.
Explore the value, though, because, you know, once in a while, tomorrow's going to be a snow day. I might flip over to 1302, and I know I'm going to probably watch a Board of Education meeting on the budget from last year. So there's a lot of things going on that we could throw in a loop, you know, that at least is more current and more informative to the general populace.
Greatest hits, like old boxing matches. Go back to the 1950s, right? Black and white. Marciano versus Archie Moore.
In terms of them meeting, I think even the statutory ones, it couldn't hurt, you know, for them to even have like an annual meeting, even if it's not needed. Somebody could just kind of say, look, this, you know, if this comes up, this is how it works. You know, this is what we do. This is why we would be meeting, you know, just to give people some background, because otherwise, if you've been on it 2 years and you've never met, you know, you're going to be like, well, what do I do now? You know, or maybe you've lost interest, but you think it's defunct. So even the statutory ones, I think just to touch base occasionally, even if it's maybe an email from the chairman to say, here's how this committee works or something. Because if a committee doesn't meet, I kind of think, you know, there's probably people who think, well, maybe I'm not really on it, you know, et cetera, you know.
Yeah.
So why don't we, I know we've asked Tom to do an update. He does one about every 6 months on committees that, you know, are worth studying in terms of continuing them. So maybe we just ask him to pick up where we left off, and we, you know, start putting timing in place in terms of when to make a decision. So, so we'll put that on the agenda for next time. I think he, you know, he does this periodically. So hopefully it's not a lot of work for him to update it. So that's all I had. I don't know if there are any other points. I mean, the other thing is I thought we would, if possible, close early and go into executive session, you know, provided we haven't lost Liam here to get us going. Are there any other agenda items for next time people would like to bring up?
you know what? Let's have a committee chair come and inform us what they've done, what they want to do,
Okay,
and we'll start with cable television.
There you go.
Do I do that? I mean, not to put anybody in the spot. We're going to give them
Yeah.
a full month's heads up,
yeah,
and
all right,
they should feel, very free to speak their mind. And
Yeah.
I'm assuming Art Dillon is. He's been probably been on the committee for a while.
yeah, he's on a lot of committees. He's also now on the downtown committee. So I don't, the only thing I'd say, Ken, is maybe that's a nominee, but I'd like to kind of get Tom to confirm it, because I don't necessarily want to throw somebody into the spotlight if they're not ready,
Okay.
So if you're agreeable to that, maybe.
I am, but I mean, keep in mind, that's what better way to explore the value of a committee is to have
Yeah.
folks on the committee, at least the
Right.
chair. You're
Right.
assuming the chair acts as a chair, gets the feedback from the other members.
I get it.
We can have one speak, yeah. But reach out to Tom, yeah. We'll see where it goes.
Okay. So I'll reach out to Tom, and we'll send you an email or give you an idea what it looks like for the next when we pull the next agenda together for March.
So Don, I don't know if you can see my hand or not.
Yeah, sorry, it was off the side of my screen, so sorry I didn't see that.
Yeah, so
And it wasn't blue, so it didn't catch my eye. So
the other thing that I did want to discuss was I think you did a really good job this year getting these done, but I'd kind of like to discuss like a calendar, because
Okay.
all the committee work, finance and this one is very time sensitive. I mean, I'm sure the other ones are too at some point, but
Okay.
and it's funny you should just mention the chair, because you kind of get these chairs and they stay on, and then you get new people on, and they've have or haven't voted, or so for us, we have a timing and a formal process to pick a chair, and the planning board does, I think, but it'd be good to kind of understand, these are when elections are, this is when we're when the deadlines are to try to get on the committees, and then do we want to do what we did tonight, just keep on appointing people as they apply, or do we want to have a gap there where we say we're going to do it twice a year? I'm not making a judgment. I just thought it would be good to talk about schedule and some kind of regularity of how the process works in terms of applying and getting appointed and electing a chair.
So can we talk about the timing of aspects right now, and then maybe we talk about trying to feature a committee and invite the chair to join us to talk about issues, opportunities, that sort of thing. So
are we adding an agenda item tonight? Because I was thinking maybe
That was a future agenda.
future agenda. I thought we'd cut out early and go to executive session if we can.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying talk about tonight. No, this is for future agenda. That's what.
But the question I had was, did we want to? Tony, there was a question about timing in terms of our cadence as a committee. Do we? My experience is we do a big wave, first of the year, and otherwise there's not. That's like the big event. Otherwise, the vacancy activity drops off considerably. I mean, getting into March and April, this won't be taking up most of the time.
Usually right after the elections, I send out a letter to all those who are coming up for renewal, I guess you could say. And I give them a deadline in which to get back to me. And if they haven't responded by that deadline, and it's usually the end of November, like right after the holidays. And then I start compiling all my information and I get it to the appointments committee. And then the appointments committee takes it from there. So I try to have everything done into the committee, at least sometime in December, if not the 1st of January. Now, if the committee wants to make sure everybody's in place by the end of December, then the renewal notices will go out in October. So we can take that into consideration. And I believe the other piece is with the elections, you may have a new sitting council as well.
Right.
So. Yeah, and I think it's worth a discussion as an agenda item, because you know, this time we met in a second time in December so we could get it all done. And maybe that's kind of a normal thing that the committee would do, whoever's sitting on the newly formed committee. But, you know, sometimes the committees themselves, the council committees don't always get put together that quickly. But this time we were fortunate that we were able to meet twice in December, and then we could, you know, roll it forward quickly.
And then as applicants come in throughout the year, they would be forwarded to the committee, and the committee could decide to take action if there's a vacancy or wait until the next go round. I mean, that would be totally up to this committee's choice to do.
Right. Yeah, this was just putting it out there as a you know, agenda item.
Okay, we can discuss it further. The only thing I'd say is that a lot of this will depend upon if there's continuity with the committee. Say there was to be a complete changeover, you know, of the committee, of the Appointments and Negotiations Committee, say next fall, you know, or, you know, this coming fall. We did a run up on this because we had some continuity. You know, we teed it up before the election, and then the two of you ramped up very quickly. So that may not be an opportunity, or the new chair or the new members might feel differently about what the priorities are. So
Yeah, or maybe if we leave a calendar in place, they could always wipe it out. But
Right,
if we leave
right.
it behind
So-
mid-stage is, you know, a good way to.
yeah, I'm open to that. I mean, whatever we think is going to be more efficient and something that would be, you know.
Yeah, I just thought it was worth a discussion.
Yeah.
It's not on the agenda tonight, but I just thought
Okay.
it was for the future.
In the next meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
next meeting.
Very good. So with that, I think we're just gonna, I need a motion to move to executive session.
Do
I'll
we adjourn first?
move to executive session, not to return.
Yeah,
I second.
okay. All those in favor, I'll go person by person. Betsy,
Yes?
Ken,
Yep, yes.
and I'm in favor of that. And so we will drop off this call, and reminder to go to your email and pick up the call details for the invite for the executive session. And we'll see you in a few
Safe,
minutes.
everybody.